Sr. Dr. Manuel Guilherme Júnior para a sua intervenção. Obrigada.
Muito bom dia a todas e a todos. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sua Excelência, Senhora Ministra da Educação e Cultura da República de Moçambique, distintos membros ou representantes do Banco Mundial, da UCEA e membros dos comitês diretivos nacional e regional. Reconheço a presença de alguns dos colegas que estivemos juntos recentemente no Ghana, tanto em abril. Tanto bem-vindo a Moçambique desta vez. Excelentíssimos senhores representantes dos governos e das universidades dos países aqui presentes, falo em particular dos vice-chancellors, tanto meus homólogos que representam as suas instituições. Excelentíssimos senhores diretores e colaboradores dos centros de excelências, caros senhores diretores das escolas, faculdades e centros da Universidade de Armulhane, caros convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores. É com elevada honra e profundo sentido de responsabilidade que a Universidade de Armulhane acolhe este importante encontro técnico e estratégico no âmbito da iniciativa dos Centros de Excelência para a África Oriental e Austral, depois de termos aceito este convite, este pedido formulado em abril último, quando estivemos no Ghana para um encontro mais alargado sobre os centros africanos. Em nome da Universidade de Armulhane e em meu nome próprio e da comunidade acadêmica, queria dar as mais calorosas boas-vindas a todos os participantes, provenientes de diferentes países da região, bem como aos nossos parceiros nacionais e internacionais. A presença de todos vós aqui, em Maputo, representa o compromisso coletivo com a qualidade e a relevância do ensino superior em África e a nossa determinação em transformar as nossas universidades em verdadeiros motores de desenvolvimento sustentável, inovação e inclusão. Excelências, minhas senhoras e meus senhores, esta reunião técnica de acolhimento, de aconselhamento, associada à 25ª reunião do Comitê de Direção Regional, constitui uma excelente oportunidade para refletirmos sobre os progressos alcançados, os desafios enfrentados e os caminhos a seguir. Os temas em análise, desde o desempenho dos centros à sua sustentabilidade, gestão ambiental e social e avaliação de resultados, são fundamentais para o sucesso desta iniciativa regional. Minhas senhoras e meus senhores, permitam-me destacar o orgulho da nossa universidade, a Universidade de Armulhane, em fazer parte desta rede de excelência através dos nossos centros, um deles dedicados à engenharia, tecnologia de petróleo e gás, e o outro aos sistemas agroalimentares e nutrição. Sempre que eu tenho a oportunidade de falar desses centros, eu tenho dito que a Universidade de Armulhane, a única universidade dos países falantes de língua portuguesa que integra esta iniciativa continental. Então, isto é de bastante orgulho para a nossa instituição, mas sobretudo também a forma como temos estado a conseguir interagir com os outros ou as outras universidades nos vários países falantes de língua inglesa e francesa. Muito recentemente estivemos num seminário tanto de Dia da África na Universidade de Pretória e fomos convidados para falar dos nossos centros e do impacto desses centros no país e não só. Mais uma vez, era só a Universidade do Armulhane, falando de português, com vários painelistas de várias partes do mundo, e isto, portanto, mais uma vez orgulha a nossa instituição. Ambos os centros estão no processo de crescimento e afirmação nacional e regional para se constituírem como um espaço de inovação, formação avançada e contribuição concreta para os desafios nacionais e regionais, especialmente num tempo em que as questões da gestão dos recursos naturais e da natureza que tem a ver com as mudanças climáticas ganham uma centralidade cada vez mais forte. Distintos convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores, desejo que esta reunião decorra num espírito de partilha, colaboração e compromisso com a excelência. Que daqui resultem novas ideias, melhores práticas e uma visão comum para o futuro dos centros de excelência na região. Antes de concluir, gostaria de agradecer de forma especial a Sua Excelência, Senhora Ministra da Educação e Cultura, cuja presença confere a este evento um significado institucional e político acrescido. Portanto, Excelência, muito obrigado pela sua presença. Também agradeço a todos os colegas que estiveram envolvidos na preparação desta reunião, uma equipa tanto multifacetada, e por isso vamos, portanto, os meus agradecimentos. Será com grande honra que ouviremos a intervenção de Sua Excelência, Senhora Ministra, para proceder à abertura oficial dos trabalhos desta reunião. Sejam bem-vindos à Universidade Eduardo Mondlane, sejam bem-vindos a Moçambique. Muito obrigado pela vossa atenção. E tomo agora o ensejo de convidar Sua Excelência, Senhora Ministra da Educação e Cultura, para se dirigir aos participantes. Excelência, tenha bondade e muito obrigado.
I will speak in Portuguese. I'm sorry about that. Bom dia a todos, aos nossos convidados, professor Gaspar, representante do banco, e a nossa representação nacional, magnífico reitor. Eu queria, antes de entrar para o discurso, dizer basicamente que é uma honra recebê-los a todos cá em Moçambique, a todos meus irmãos da África, meus irmãos, minhas irmãs da África. Nós temos um desafio muito grande como continente africano, que é exatamente usarmos todo o nosso conhecimento para o desenvolvimento econômico e social dos nossos países. É uma honra estarem aqui conosco para juntos trocarmos a experiência e, acima de tudo, nós sermos a base para alavancar a África, olhando exatamente para aquela que é a nossa agenda comum, a nível do continente, Agenda 2063, a África que queremos. Temos tudo lá, mas o mais importante, acima de tudo, é todos nós nos sentirmos parte relevante, parte importante para poder trabalhar, empoderar as comunidades com o objetivo de desenvolvimento da nossa África. Esta união nossa, para nós, é magnífica. E dizer bem-vindos aqui no nosso país, Moçambique. Muito obrigada. Magnífico reitor da Universidade Eduardo Mondlane. Doutor Gaspar, o nosso representante, o nosso líder regional, o Banco Mundial está presente, a quem agradecemos, o nosso parceiro sempre, portanto, nesse projeto de desenvolvimento dos nossos países, distintos membros do Comitê Diretivo Regional, e, acima de tudo, os excelentíssimos diretores, nossos professores cá presentes, parceiros de modo geral que estão cá neste nosso encontro, estimados convidados, espero que também estejam os nossos alunos, estudantes, acima do ensino superior. Minhas senhoras e meus senhores, é com elevada honra que tenho o privilégio de me dirigir a vós nesta cerimônia de abertura da reunião técnica de aconselhamento dos Centros Africanos de Excelência e a da reunião do Comitê Internacional do Projeto dos Centros de Excelência da África, acolhidos, portanto, nesta nossa cidade, que é a cidade capital, a cidade de Maputo. Permitam desde já dar as mais calorosas boas-vindas a todos os participantes, em nome do Governo da República de Moçambique, especialmente em nome do chefe de Estado, e em meu nome pessoal, expressar profunda gratidão por terem escolhido Moçambique, esse nosso país, como um país anfitrião deste encontro regional, de elevada relevância e, sobretudo, diria que contribuiu para a consolidação do ensino superior e, sobretudo, da ciência a nível do nosso continente. Caros participantes do evento, o projeto Centros de Excelência da África 2, desde a sua concepção em 2015, apoiado pelo Banco Mundial, em estreita colaboração com o governo de 8 países da África Oriental e Austral, e coordenada regionalmente pelo Conselho Interuniversitário da África Oriental, tem sido uma iniciativa transformadora para o nosso continente. A nossa missão é clara: reforçar a capacidade das nossas instituições do ensino superior para oferecer a formação de pós-graduação de qualidade e investigação aplicada nas áreas prioritárias para o alavancamento socioeconômico dos nossos países e, do modo geral, do nosso continente. Hoje, o continente conta com 29 centros de excelência. Diria excelência efetivamente ativos, cobrindo um vasto leque de áreas de relevo, como a educação, a agricultura, a saúde, energia, engenharia, tecnologias de informação e ciências ambientais. Estamos a falar de áreas super relevantes para o nosso desenvolvimento, que contribuem para a excelência acadêmica, portanto, dos nossos concidadãos, parte integrantes para este nosso desenvolvimento. Estamos a falar da ciência acadêmica e, sobretudo, da relevância social e que nós esperamos é com um impacto efetivo a nível dos nossos países. O nosso país teve a honra de integrar esta iniciativa em 2016, através do financiamento da Universidade Eduardo Mondlane, a maior universidade e mais antiga, portanto, do ensino superior em Moçambique, contando com um centro de excelência de estudos de engenharia e petróleo e gás. Em 2022, o país voltou a beneficiar de um financiamento adicional que permitiu a criação de centros de excelência em sistemas agroalimentares e nutrição, e também na Universidade, portanto, Eduardo Mondlane. Estes 2 centros, cujo enfoque é a área de sistemas de agroalimentares e nutrição, e a engenharia e tecnologia de petróleo e gás, são de importância extrema no nosso país. Quando remetemos basicamente para o centro agroalimentar, do modo geral, o maior desafio nosso aqui em África é exatamente o agroprocessamento. Nós, quando olhamos exatamente para a questão do agroprocessamento, é fundamental para nós, do ponto de vista da alimentação, mas também o desenvolvimento, alavancarmos a indústria alimentar, é fundamental para que efetivamente possamos contribuir para o desenvolvimento de emprego para os nossos concidadãos. Diria também que, acima de tudo, esses centros contribuem para a formação de recursos humanos altamente qualificados, capazes de contribuir, como referimos e sublinhamos, a alavancar o nosso continente com aquilo que é fundamental para o nosso desenvolvimento. Essa reunião ocorre num momento particularmente importante, diria que quando o projeto caminha basicamente para a fase final, prevista para dezembro de 2025. A sua agenda, neste caso, está virada para a avaliação dos progressos alcançados no cumprimento das condições baseadas em desempenho, na gestão dos riscos ambientais e sociais, nas finanças e aquisição e monitoria e avaliação, bem como a comunicação dos resultados alcançados. Nós também consideramos de extrema importância, neste caso, que nós possamos aproveitar esta oportunidade para refletirmos sobre a sustentabilidade dos centros. Os centros devem ficar, os centros devem ser sustentáveis, os centros devem ser multiplicados a nível de todo o nosso país e a nível de todo o nosso continente. Então é importante, efetivamente, que nós possamos discutir e alinhar as lições aprendidas durante o período de implementação do projeto, a nível do continente, que poderão servir de base para a melhoria dos processos de financiamentos futuros e, sobretudo, a sua sustentabilidade. É importante garantir a sustentabilidade dos centros, é sem dúvida para nós, mas é importante encontrarmos um caminho eficaz, um desafio, mas acima de tudo uma oportunidade para nós criarmos uma estabilidade em relação ao que nós pretendemos nos nossos países. O nosso dever coletivo é assegurar que o investimento realizado sirva de alicerce para uma transformação duradoura do ensino superior em África e, sobretudo, esta ligação ensino superior, investigação e desenvolvimento nos nossos países. Permitam-me destacar a importante estratégia de colaboração entre as universidades, governos, setor privado e comunidades locais em relação a esta nossa componente investigação aplicada, portanto, diria, ao desenvolvimento. Os centros de excelência devem estar cada vez mais conectados com os desafios reais das nossas sociedades para serem relevantes para o desenvolvimento de uma economia sustentável. A implementação de ações de centros deve contribuir para que se garanta a segurança alimentar e nutricional, a resiliência climática, o emprego juvenil, que efetivamente enfrentamos a nível da nossa África. Temos que criar emprego. E, ao criarmos, portanto, ao contribuir para o nosso desenvolvimento, significa basicamente contribuir para os postos de trabalho, para que a nossa juventude também contribua para esse desenvolvimento. A industrialização e a transformação digital são necessários a nível de todo o nosso continente para nos inserirmos, portanto, nesta que é a exigência e a mobilidade a nível global. Só assim estaremos a cumprir verdadeiramente com a nossa missão, que é contribuirmos para que os nossos países desenvolvam de forma sustentável. O governo de Moçambique continua firmemente comprometido com a valorização do ensino superior, da investigação científica como pilares centrais que alicerçam o desenvolvimento do país. Deve sublinhar também que a nossa agenda a longo prazo vinca muito a questão do desenvolvimento, que vai até 2024, vinca, portanto, o alicerce do desenvolvimento com base na investigação. Continuamos a criar condições políticas, institucionais e financeiras para garantir que os nossos centros, as nossas universidades prosperem no contexto nacional, regional e global. Excelências, caros participantes, nos próximos dias, portanto, serão apresentados os relatórios, partilhadas boas práticas, discutidas as experiências e visitados os centros de apoio pela iniciativa, portanto, pela nossa parte, diria, a nível de Maputo. Que este encontro sirva não apenas como um mero momento de balanço, mas, sobretudo, uma plataforma de renovação, de compromisso, da nossa excelência, da nossa cooperação regional, da visão de uma África para o desenvolvimento e, sobretudo, que colabora e que dialoga, olhando para o futuro próspero de todo o continente. O terceiro dia deste evento, temos a informação que será dedicada, portanto, a reunião do Comitê Diretivo Regional. Tratando-se, portanto, de um momento decisivo, onde se espera que os representantes dos 10 países participantes, incluindo Moçambique, discutam os rumos estratégicos do projeto e, o mais importante ainda, as perspectivas da continuidade da iniciativa com o apoio do Banco Mundial e de outros parceiros, caso seja possível alargá-los, tendo em conta a extensão, portanto, daquele que são os nossos países. Estamos cientes de que o Banco Mundial já expressou a abertura para considerar uma nova fase do projeto dos Centros de Excelência em África, o que é, sem dúvida, um sinal de confiança, acima de tudo, naquilo que junto podemos construir e, sobretudo, a construção do continente desenvolvido e sustentável. No entanto, também sabemos que a decisão sobre a continuidade do apoio dependerá em grande medida do nível de compromisso demonstrado por nós, governos do nosso continente. E nós, efetivamente, estamos comprometidos com esse desenvolvimento. Desejo a todos um encontro produtivo, inspirador e marcado pela contribuição e partilha de soluções. Gostaria também de dizer, poderia também aproveitar, acredito que tenha um momento magnífico, reitor, não sei como é que estamos organizados, para conhecerem um pouco sobre o nosso Moçambique, neste caso um pedacinho que é a cidade de Maputo, mas temos, diria, a nossa gastronomia é a melhor em África. Com toda a humildade digo isso. Nós temos, então gostaria que visitassem, que tivessem a oportunidade de comer o nosso peixe, o nosso camarão, que é uma maravilha. Espero efetivamente que o magnífico reitor vos leve a um dos melhores restaurantes para poderem partilharmos convosco aquilo que é a nossa rica gastronomia a nível do nosso país. E com estas palavras declaro oficialmente aberta a reunião técnica do aconselhamento e, sobretudo, também a reunião do Comitê Diretivo do Projeto dos Centros de Excelência em África. E muito obrigada a todos e bem-vindos mais uma vez. E sintam um bom abraço a todos. Estamos todos a correr, isso é verdade, estamos todos a correr para que efetivamente as nossas crianças, nossos jovens e, sobretudo, os nossos países possam desenvolver e que possamos mostrar do melhor o que nós temos. Trabalhar para o desenvolvimento da África. E muito obrigada.
Muito obrigada, Excelência. Obrigada por estas palavras e pela honra de tê-la aqui presente. Queria pedir este momento, com a permissão de Sua Excelência Ministra da Educação e Cultura, para que tenhamos algumas fotos para a nossa memória. E para isso queria convidar ao Presídio para se colocar de pé para a primeira foto de família, enquanto se prepara o Comitê Diretivo Regional para, de seguida, se juntar ao grupo aqui presente. Esta é a primeira foto de família. Muito obrigada. Ao Comitê Diretivo Regional, por favor. Comitê Diretivo Regional, pedimos para que se junte. Regional Steering Committee, please. Uhum. Muito obrigada. De seguida, pedimos ao Comitê Diretivo Nacional, por favor, para se aproximar dos centros de excelência. Comitê Diretivo Nacional, a Regional Steering Committee, pedimos que se retire. Regional Steering Committee, we can take the seats. Comitê Diretivo Nacional. Eu ouvir as pessoas. Muito obrigada ao Comitê Diretivo Nacional. Neste momento, pedimos também que se juntem reitores e representantes do Banco Mundial para a próxima foto de família. Por favor, equipe do Banco Mundial, reitores aqui presentes. World Bank representatives, please. World Bank team, vice chancellors, please join for the photo. Now it's time for the vice chancellors and the World Bank team to join. Muito obrigada. Neste momento, gostaria de convidar a equipe da UCEA para se juntar a este grupo para a última foto de família. A ser tirada aqui dentro da sala. Por favor, a equipe da UCEA para se juntar para esta última foto. Pedimos aos convidados de honra que permaneçam. A nossa unidade de facilitação regional para se juntar para a foto de família, por favor. Regional Facilitation Unity to join the team for the photo, please. That side. Go to that side. That side. That side. Muito obrigada. Todo o protocolo observado. Gostaria de convidar a todos para nos levantarmos e anunciar de seguida. Anuncio de seguida a retirada desta sala. Anuncio a retirada desta sala reservada à reunião de aconselhamento e técnica do projeto Centros de Excelência, a decorrer entre os dias 11 e 12 de junho corrente. Anuncio a retirada de Sua Excelência Ministra da Educação, professora doutora Samaria Tovela, desta sala, e convido a todos para uma foto de família nas escadas que será orientado pelo protocolo. Muito obrigada, voltamos para a sala dentro de 20 minutos. Obrigada.
Let me take a photo. Yes. Honey, put a bigger picture now. Hi, my brother. Hi. Don't be serious. Huh? Yeah. Business. Good. How is it going? Yeah. Actually, that was immediately when I saw yeah. Because it's the entire country, entire conflict, we have to deal with this. Yeah. That is the complex animal. That's exactly about the network. I can't put so what's the extent of yeah. So with one I'm here we are.
Atenção, atenção, E2, G2, 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 Ayuda da famille.
that word last time.
Muito bom dia mais uma vez, caros delegados. Queríamos pedir que tomassem os vossos lugares para iniciarmos a nossa sessão. Pedimos aos delegados para que reposicionem-se, que é para iniciarmos a nossa sessão. Obrigada. Muito obrigada aos nossos artistas e obrigada por nos abrilhantar com estes momentos especiais da nossa Timbila. É um momento de festa, um encontro científico, técnico e de aconselhamento. Então, é sempre bom termos uma equipe que nos abrilhanta com a arte moçambicana. Muito obrigada. Vamos dar seguimento à nossa reunião. Não sei se as condições estão criadas, todos conseguem ouvir-nos. Conseguem nos ouvir todos? Temos acesso ao sistema de tradução? Can you please confirm that if the translation is working? Is the translation working? We are about to start. Is it working? Peço à equipe de apoio para o funcionamento do sistema de tradução. Não está a funcionar. Equipe técnica, por favor. Pedimos ajuda para confirmar se o sistema está on. Ok, já está. Então, como estava a dizer, vamos dar seguimento à nossa reunião. Neste momento, vou convidar o coordenador do projeto para uma apresentação e depois os trabalhos seguem conforme previsto na nossa agenda. Muito obrigada.
Malawi and Mozambique, the World Bank team, the regional steering committee members and national steering committee members, the executive secretary of IUCA, the leaders of host institutions, the vice chancellors and the deputy vice chancellors, center leaders, partners, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. I'm here to present a snapshot of the status of our project. This project has a background that originally we had the initiation in 2016 of the African Centers of Education project for East and Southern Africa. The overall project development objective of that project was to enhance the capacity to deliver postgraduate training, but also to build capacity for collaboration in research in the 5 priority areas of the region, namely agriculture, education, health, industry, and applied statistics. That project established 24 centers, and these centers were hosted in 16 universities in the 8 countries of East and Southern Africa. The project was a results-based, whereby all disbursements were tied on the achievement of results. Now, this mother project closed in year 2023 after achieving very phenomenal results. Then the S2 additional financing project was born in year 2022. And it established 6 centers in 1 priority area, that is agriculture. Of these 6 centers, 5 are hosted by Malawi at a tune of $30 million. And then 1 center is hosted by Mozambique at a tune of still $30 million. 2 other centers of the original S2 mother project from the same 2 countries had their project period extended. So we can say that as we speak, we are having in total 8 centers, the 6 in the AF, and then the 2 from the mother project. Now, I would like briefly to go through the key project development objective level and intermediate results indicators in order to assess how we have moved up to today. Among the key results indicators, we have enrollment of both regional and national students at master's and PhD levels, establishment of partnership for collaboration in applied research and training, accreditation of education programs offered by the centers, both at the national and the regional or international levels, the total number of project beneficiaries, the number of faculty and PhD student exchanges to promote research and teaching, the amount of money generated by these centers, the publications in internationally recognized journals, the community action research projects, among others. Therefore, this presentation is focused on taking stock of the actual results against the targets. We'd like to point out areas that may need further efforts, but also flag out areas of special importance now that we are winding down to the closure of the project in December 2025. Briefly, that's the overall figure. The committed funds for the project, additional financing is 30 million for Mozambique, 30 million for Malawi. The overall is $60 million US. As we speak, the disbursed amount, all approved for disbursement, stands at 23.5 million for Malawi, and then 20.3 million for Mozambique. We can say that averagely, we have dispersed up to around 73%. Now, we wish to go to the PDOs, project development objective indicators, one by one to see how we have moved. With regard to the enrollment of students, that is PBC 2.1, the master's students, we've already achieved almost 100%. PhD, not exactly, but I think in the remaining few months, we can reach the target. We are at 74%. Regional students, there we still have a slight problem. We are at 40. And then the female students, we had a target of having at least 35% of the postgraduate students being females, and we have already achieved that. I can say that most centers have attained the 100% with regard to enrollment, and they have maximized the relevant disbursements, except for a few centers that also appear to be on track. That is TACE, SFAP, and oil and gas. We are hoping that by December, they will have attained at least 100%. With regard to female postgraduate students, as I have mentioned, we've reached the target. But the regional students, we are not yet at the target. Partnership, The target, we've already surpassed it. Out of the 75 MOUs that was the target, we've reached 166 MOUs, making a percentage of 221%. Except for 2 centers that are working hard to attain the maximum number of MOUs, that is oil and gas and then SFAP. Then on accreditation, we've done quite well on national accreditation, reaching 297%, but we haven't performed equally well on regional accreditation and international accreditation. Actually, as we speak, there is only one program that can be said to have reached the regional accreditation. But activities are going on. Most centers have sent in their programs for regional accreditation. So we are very hopeful that by the end of December, we might reach the target. So far, we've received 8 programs from 3 centers for regional accreditation. And many other centers are supposed to submit, I think, by the end of next week for regional accreditation. So we still have a lot of hope. One center has just had their academic programs expired. So they are now working on re-accreditation, and that is crafts. And according to what we've had, already the National Council for Higher Education has given green light. However, I wish also to report that none of the centers has made use of other 3 routes to international accreditation. And these are, first of all, the centers can form a joint program with other institutions with a global ranking above the threshold of top 750. Although as we speak, none of the centers has taken that route, but that route is there as well. The second one is developing a joint program with an internationally accredited program. Still, for the centers that might be interested in taking this route, it's open. And then the third, there is also an option of having membership in any discipline-specific international organization that has, as its membership requirement, the achievement of certain qualitative and quantitative markers. So those 3 routes can also be used to obtain international accreditation. With regard to exchanges of faculty and PhD students, a total of 744 exchanges for PhD students, that's around 248% of the target, that was 300, has already been achieved. And I must say that practically all centers have attained more than 100% of the targets on exchanges, except 2 centers that we hope in the next verification exercise, they will have achieved this target. The other very important PDO indicator are the publications. Of the 492 publications as a target, the centers have reported a total of 738. That is 150%. Publications in recognized international journals, except one center that is at 59%. Externally generated revenue, as we speak, a total of $4 million has been reported by the centers against the original target of 6.4 million. So we are at 64% with regard to this PDO indicator. The other very important issue concerns hosting of incubation centers. Originally, there was a call for the centers to bid for the hosting of incubation centers, and 5 centers managed to succeed. 4 are already in operation. The disbursements have been made. And then 1, what remains is an on-site visit, an on-site assessment that is supposed to take place immediately after this term, so that they are also awarded if the on-site assessment is positive. There is 1 PBC where no disbursement has yet been made, and we have put that in red. The good thing is that the centers is an acronym for Community Action Research Projects. Our centers are going to be working with our communities to make a difference. We are not thinking about having centers that are ivory towers that don't touch the needs of society, that don't work with the community. So we are hopeful that all the centers will be able to submit the reports for verification, and then the disbursements will be made. So we have $3 million for Mozambique and $3 million for Malawi for this PBC. I wish to conclude with a word of appreciation. In the first place, I must thank our governments through the Regional Steering Committee members that are here. And I would wish to invite them to stand up for recognition for the big job done during the implementation of this project. Kindly, can you stand up for recognition? We wish also in a very special way to thank the World Bank, not only for providing the funds, but also for the continuous support. I must say something that I found very pleasant when I became a coordinator, that the World Bank every 2 weeks finds time from their extremely busy schedules to have a meeting with the IUCA on the progress of the project. That is something that we really cherish so much. I think let's give them an applause. And of course, in a very special way, we must thank the host institutions, together with the center leaders and their teams, for the job well done. Thank you. So despite the challenges, overall, the additional financing ACs have performed quite well. We are at 73% disbursement, while the other 2 centers from the mother project stand at 85%. So we can say that averagely for the 2 sets of centers, we are at 79%. And I think we have all the reasons to believe that by the end of December, we should have reached 100%. The next steps then. First of all, I need to emphasize that the project is going to close. It's closing in December, 31st December 2025. Then, for that matter, we must work to have all the disbursements made before that time. And I believe that our centers are ready for that. Secondly, there must be a conversation on how we plan to close the project with 100 or 100+ achievement. I believe during this term meeting, we need to discuss about that. How do we ensure that we achieve 100% plus for the project? And then finally, it goes without saying that we need to engage ourselves on the sustainability strategy. I'm very glad that tomorrow, the representatives from the two countries, the members of Regional Steering Committee from Mozambique and Malawi, are going to make a presentation in this area, how the countries are planning for sustainability. Muito obrigado. Thank you very much.
Caros participantes, havendo comentários, observações a esta apresentação, queria convidar para, antes de passarmos para a próxima sessão, que é a primeira sessão depois do intervalo, para a discussão. Sendo assim, havendo observações, queria convidar a todos para comentar esta apresentação. Obrigada. O silêncio significa que não há comentários a esta primeira apresentação?
Yeah.
Let me go ahead.
So we are going to have another session. This session is going to be on incubation. And I'm going to invite the chair of that session, Professor Anthony Ejeru. Professor Anthony Ejeru is program manager, skilling, engagement, and the community development program at RUFORUM. As you are aware, we are working with RUFORUM in this project on various activities, including incubation and the CAPS. Professor Anthony has extensive years of experience in the field of education, research, and business and entrepreneurship. He has published widely over 40 peer-reviewed articles in high-impact journals. I wish to invite you to welcome Professor Anthony Ejeru. Over to you, Prof.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I've already been introduced and I shall not be able to introduce a lot more than that. I just repeat, my name is Anthony Ejeru. I serve at the RUFORUM Secretariat as the Program Manager for Skilling and Engagement for Community Development. I've been serving at the RUFORUM Secretariat for the last 10 years. Allow me to welcome the panelists that will join in this session, and then we will begin to proceed from there. Allow me to welcome Mr. Pascal Niregango. Mr. Pascal. Allow me to welcome Engineer Anke Westelt. Allow me to welcome Dr. Neva Daudi Zekeya. Dr. Neva Daudi Zekeya. Okay, so as the team takes their seats, allow me to make a little bit of deeper introductions on each of them, based on the bio profiles that I have here. I think we have a formidable team, a team of experts that have eaten some salt in the spaces where they are always doing the work. So Mr. Pascal, he is a professional social entrepreneur and a master trainer for new startups, and also a business coach for young entrepreneurs with innovative ideas. He is currently the head of the Grid Innovation Hub, and incubation at the Center for Energy at the University of Rwanda. He is the head of business development and commercialization at the University of Rwanda. Allow me to thank Mr. Pascal for accepting to join this panel today. Engineer Anke is the founder of the Farm Biotrack Center of Excellence at Mbarara University of Science and Technology in Uganda. She is an agricultural engineer with over 16 years of experience in tropical agriculture, value chain development, and agribusiness. Pioneered agribusiness innovation in Uganda by bridging research, entrepreneurship, and community development. Let's welcome and thank Engineer Anke for accepting to join the panel today. Dr. Neva, a former incubatee at the CRADES Center of Excellency, hosted at the Nelson Mandela Institute of Science and Technology in Tanzania. She is a researcher and a founder of Plant Biodefenders Limited, a company focused on sustainable agriculture and biopesticide development. She has worked for various institutions, including the African Wildlife Management and the Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology. Allow me to welcome Dr. Neva to join the panel, and we thank her for agreeing to participate today. Thank you very much, panelists. Colleagues, I think the journey for the ACES has been on course. And first, I would like to thank all the center leaders for taking their time to accept to run the race and in the implementation of the center activities. Running a program in a university is no mean feat. We would like to thank you because you have had to go and walk through the different corridors and manage the power dynamics in a university setting. On behalf of RUFORUM, I am pleased to particularly inform you that we are happy and glad to partner with IUCA in delivering the African Centers of Excellency program activities, because this journey and motion has been a long journey. Since 2010, during the Chair Conference, and that is the Conference on Higher Education in Africa, which was hosted by Honorable Minister Geraldine Bitamazire, it formed the fulcrum and the basis and the foundations for the design of the World Bank Centers of Excellency program. And RUFORUM, together with partners, have remained consistent in this journey, believing on the need for Africa to grow its human capital base, because it's only requisite human capital that we need for the continent that can make us transform Africa. RUFORUM's commitment, therefore, in ensuring that the S centers succeed in delivering their mandate is unwavering, because investing in people is definitely serious business. And it's good business because it has good returns on investment. Some of the young people that we have invested in through the RUFORUM programs have been able to demonstrate that actually returns on investment of scholarship programs that are innovatively delivered can bring a return on investment of up to 1 to 16. And therefore, investing in good young people is good business for Africa. And we therefore need to ensure that we continue that journey on investing in young people. Because if we must break the cycle of the development challenges that we are having as a continent, it is the human resources that we need. We don't need nuclear weapons to do that. RUFORUM therefore sees universities as talent incubators. That is how we conceptualize universities, as talent incubators, because raw talent comes into the universities, and it's our responsibilities to turn that talent into a product, and that product becomes a young person with skills and abilities to affect development processes once they leave the university campus. But within the university campus, as talent incubators, we also see universities as business points for business incubation. We also see universities as potential points for advanced accelerators, where innovation can be translated into products and services. Because that is where requisite and able young people are resident. And we therefore can be able to work to stimulate and accelerate that. Because if there is no private sector in the continent and at country level, therefore we need to take it seriously as universities, that it's our responsibility, and we are part of that journey, to create a vibrant private sector, because it's nobody's responsibility to create a private sector for us, but it's our own responsibility. And university incubators are therefore fulcrums for us to see that. The development challenges that we are having on the continent still require us to ask three foundational questions. What challenges are we solving? 2, how are we addressing these challenges? And 3, what does success look like in our horizon? And for us to deal with these three foundational issues, it therefore, while they look simple, they are very important, and they call for deep reflection as colleagues, because it requires a strong commitment for us to act. It also requires commitment for us to ask hard questions and take deep reflections on ourselves as universities, as governments, as well as institutions of higher learning. And therefore, by doing this business, we need to look at it in the question that because universities and education is an investment, and we therefore need to look at it and argue that because it's an investment, we therefore need to think from a business case model. That is only when it is possible to justify why governments need to continuously invest in universities. Otherwise, if we don't evolve that notion of decision-making as higher education institutions, it becomes very difficult for us to justify our case before the public and the politicians that make decisions, because they have different investment potentials that they need to put resources to. So as universities, we need to answer those three foundational questions. The next issue as part of the RUFORUM conversations, therefore, as we go forward, it is important that we begin thinking of rebalancing the human resource pyramid, because we have a lot of work to do in this continent. And because we have a lot of work to do in the continent, we need a balanced resource pyramid where the skilled human resources at lower levels are able to help fundamentally accelerates the translation of innovations that emerge from universities into products and services. And addressing this human native problem of unbalanced resource pyramid requires that as universities, we need to begin to rethink our own value proposition for our countries. What is our role, therefore, in catalyzing this process? And because as universities, we need therefore to take an active role in this journey. Therefore, translating our innovations that emerge from universities into products and services, we need to recognize that it is a journey. The men and women that are before you today that are going to share their experiences have been on this journey walking through learning by doing, learning to fail and failing to learn, but also rising up with all and every failure to face the new day with a positive mind because they are committed to creating a change for the continent. And so as universities, we therefore need to walk this journey. And we need to walk this journey bearing in mind that one, as universities, we don't hire entrepreneurs. We hire specialists in agriculture, in physics, in astronomy. We hire specialists. And therefore, when you are recruited as a professor into the university, they don't ask you whether you have run a business. But we are expecting these people to come up and begin all over the sudden to change the ecosystem and the environment in the university to create business and get businesses emerge out of the universities. It therefore calls that we need to think differently. Second is that as universities, we were created to provide skilled labor force for colonial governments that needed good workers. But the time has changed that we are supposed to create human resources that develop our continent and our economies, because the partnerships and the arrangements today with our former colonial powers is now different. And therefore, we cannot keep on thinking and operating in the 1960 model of education, but we need to change and reform our processes. Third, as universities, we were once made to believe that we are very important. And so because we are very important, we created an ivory tower around us. And we entered through the gates of our universities, and we continue to enter in, and we are not even alive to the realities of the neighborhood around us. And we need to break those barriers. And fourth, our academic research is not industrial-oriented research. It is academic research for our young people to get grades and flaunt around that I have an A, I have a distinction, I have a master's honors, I have an undergraduate honors. But it is not designed for getting industry-based products, our innovations to translate into business. And therefore, because we are not oriented towards the process of making money, in fact, in most of the universities, when you start conversations with professors, they fear to talk about money. And therefore, we need to reform that journey and begin to rethink the conversation about making money from our innovations needs to come to our boardrooms of our academic institutions and our senates and councils of universities. Therefore, we require one, that we need to deal with our mindset and create a mindset shift within our faculty and our institutions. Two, we need to reconfigure our policies, practices, and systems to become enablers for change. And three, we need to reform our curricula to be able to be deliberate towards industry-related research and innovation that leads us to creating products and services that creates value and wealth in society. And four, we need to debunk the theory of our ivory tower institutions and bring our universities to connect with industry, but most importantly, to make our universities to be very much connected to the needs of our people on everyday life. And this is the foundation around the community action research projects, because it is about getting the university to the community and getting the community to the university to co-create solutions towards the common day challenges that our people face. And 5, we need to support infrastructure development in our universities. That will enable us to create innovations and innovation and incubation hubs with maker spaces, because sometimes we are requiring our universities to be able to have things, but they are operating in facilities that are supposed to be decommissioned. And we expect sound innovations emerging out of that. 2, in that direction, we need to modernize our laboratories so that we support real R&D, not something that is close to R&D, but real research and development processes that should emerge out of those laboratories. We are not short of young people to do the real work because they are there. We just need to get the infrastructure right. And 3, while we do all these things as governments and as universities, we also need to build human capital base within those facilities. One of the things that we notice is that we recruit academic staff, but we don't recruit technicians that are very critical and pivotal for the advancement of research in any university and in any facility. And therefore, it is high time we begin paying attention to who are our technicians, where are we training them, how are we training them? Because as a professor, you give instructions to the technician to get things done, and you monitor the quality and provide quality assurance. You may not have the time to spend in the lab because you have to write the next project. You have to do the next administration processes. But if you are defunct with technicians in the labs, you will not make advances in research. And therefore, I am therefore glad and congratulate the men and women that have led the centers over these years for their resilience and stamina and dedication with purpose and commitment for making Africa better. For that is a resolution and a resolute of a person dedicated to seeing a better tomorrow. To the World Bank that has supported us over these years, my previous prayers that I've just alluded to, I pray that they find space for further discussions, because what the centers over the years have tried to do is to provide a proof of concept that it is possible. And since they have provided a proof of concept that it is possible, it is not time to close, it is time to scale. And because it's time to scale, it is therefore opportunity to have more meaningful conversations. To the African governments and representatives of African governments here, let's invest in our people. It is us as Africans to make Africa better. Let us make it our business and our serious business to do that, because it's only then that our mission and vision in the Africa Agenda 2063 can become a reality. These are my basic remarks on behalf of RUFORUM. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, allow me now to transition to the role of the moderator, because I have finished to make my opening remarks as required in the program and in the agenda. Panelists, I do believe you have organized your presentations in slides, and if you don't have presentations in slides, we will be able to walk together with you in a journey and have some conversations after your presentation. I would like to give at least, so that we can have time to engage both on the panel here, but also give the audience opportunity to ask some questions that can help bring us towards a common collaborative learning, because this is opportunity for us to learn together. With these remarks, I would like to first of all invite Anki to start the process of making your presentation. Please try to cap it within 7 minutes maximum so that we can be able to gain time. Thank you very much. Over to you, Anki.
Thank you much, Chair. First of all, thank you for the good mix of the panel. We have academia, that's me in this case. We have an incubatee, who's a beneficiary, and partner private sector. This is a very good combination. So let me start with the presentation. Thank you, IT. It's very important to have technicians. And one point on that, Andrew, technicians are often underpaid. They do work as high as PhD and they earn nothing. So when you want to have more layers in your program, imagine at Brown University, just a rough figure, professor, associate professor, 14.68 million. A senior lecturer, 8 point something million. You see the gap? The gap is so high. And then what about the technician? I don't want to even tell you that. So it is salary structure is also important, not only that technicians are there, but it's hard to get them. So I will not talk much, 7 minutes. So let me say our, oh, it's not shifting. The computer is not talking to the, I think it's only on Zoom. The Zoom sees us, the whole computer share. Okay, no, 7 minutes, just leave it in small. Leave it in the small session. No, oh, okay, thank you. So we have a framework, 15 steps of innovation incubation. I will not explain now, but it's there for sharing. So our focus of the incubator is specific to natural product, traditional medicine, cosmetic and beverages, nutraceuticals and material science. So we are narrow. It's also important for incubators to have a specific focus to can specialize. We have 2 innovation pathways. One is external, one is internal. External means incubatees come for different activities like training, like incubation, like short-term residentials. And internal is when the incubatee does the whole process in the production facility, gets certified in-house in the incubator and produces from the incubator. That is called intern house. So we have so far 30 incubatees. As you can see, they are different, they are male and female. We have a good gender balance, mainly from Uganda because of the size and nature of the program. We have products like tincture medicine, consumables, cosmetics, and drinks. So these are the 2 incubators. These are the products. Oh, it's not coming. Okay. So I have a slide of products of the different innovations. Go ahead. Okay, there's a lag between me and the main screen. So what went well? High interest of innovators. We got a lot of applications. Very okay. Diverse background. We attracted academician staff because in the university it was a non-academic and academic staff. I mean, it's a strange differentiation, but both of them were interested students and community members. There were community members in our incubator who have no papers at all. They have a good idea, they have a good program, good product, but they have no degrees or the school, and still they have access to us. So that is a very good. Training and capacity. We were able to have good in-house capacity and partners providing experts to us, partnering hubs and regulatory bodies, for example. Bahrain University of Science and Technology, thank you very much to be willing to host us. It's very important that the university is willing to host the center. That is a real benefit. If they are with you, you can thrive. If there are tension, you will feel it. Regulatory support. We were also supported by regulatory bodies like National Drug Authority, Bureau Standard, to actually help us to be ready for certification. So now our facilities are certified for production. So when incubatees come, they get easy certification because the facility itself is certified and properly. And then the processes are also good. So it's easy now. Another point of rare importance is to have a museum and a showroom. Why? You get many visitors, donors, policymakers, MPs, entrepreneurs. Everyone comes to university, want to see you. But you can't mobilize incubatees all the times to parade in an exhibition. It's expensive and it's time consuming for the innovators. But if you have a museum or showroom, permanent exhibition, you can always guide your visitor through them and maybe then make a one-to-one visit to one or two of the innovators. Visibility, very important to be seen in different functions and activities so that your incubation is also known. What are the challenges? Where there is sun, there is shade. Definitely, we are not perfect. Yes, we got 100% disbursement for World Bank. We managed 100%. It was a tough road, but we got it. Mainstreaming the incubator, dear Vice Chancellors, you are here, and Deputy Vice Chancellors, and leaders of university. It's important to mainstream the African Center of Excellence into your university strategic plan, budget, national plans, which is a challenge. We are still working on it. Yeah? So, limit incubation space, $6 million is peanut. We wrote a concept of Farm Biotruck as an incubator. $40 to $60 million, 5 buildings of different functions. We have the full concept to really make a specialized innovation incubation on natural products in Africa, because we're supposed to be regional centers. We need $40 to $60 million investment to do it and have high level of in-house incubation. So most of the donors so far like to support incubatees, but the incubator or the framework, the host, gets very little, almost nothing. So how you run an incubator? With only getting small grants, which are just feeding the incubator. So that is incubatees. Incubatees are people like students. They have good idea, and instead of getting a degree, they get products, correct? But here's a challenge. Professors, vice chancellors, donors, listen, please. There is one plea I have. You always give students scholarships, bachelor, master, PhD, postdoc fellow, yeah? But you cannot give the same attention to give an incubatee, a young entrepreneur who just come from nowhere, having nothing. The parents have nothing, and they're supposed to start a business. Give them the same, a scholarship for 2 years, 3 years, and they graduate with products, not with a PhD, not with papers. They graduate with a product. They're employing people. And it makes good mathematics. Why? One student graduate, a PhD is $70,000 roughly. A master student, 25 to 30, depending on the science, on which subject, dollars. Yeah? If you invest the same in entrepreneur, you have the entrepreneur graduating, and you have usually also employees, people getting a job. But the master and PhD usually is a job seeker. The entrepreneur will give jobs. So you give the same scholarship, you create more jobs. But this one is not happened up to now. I preached this for the last 10 years. I'm still continue preaching until one day I get that grant. Limited funding, yes, the small grant is too little. An incubee needs several rounds of grant. First, starting. Are you serious? Are you real? Make sense? And you real doing it? And then another one, a small. So you need like 3 phases, not just one and go. Do you know that we need also incubatees to be ethical? I know incubatees got the grant and default. Default is split. One sits on the money and doesn't do the operation with it. Sits on the money. And then you build 2 companies. Now you come back, you inspect, you have 2 companies, the same So incubatees need business ethics. We have this week's an incubatee die. We lost an incubatee. Died, dead, killed actually. Killed. Why? Of course, there's no police report yet, but it looks like some business ethics were not followed. And then it took negative consequence. So Errol already mentioned, we need bigger labs, startup, regular intake, stipends, I have already mentioned. University also have, if you have several incubators, try to bring them together in a framework to work together. Some universities have more than 1 incubator. Bring them together. Establish a sales point where your products of innovation is accessible to the public. Here some invite practitioners in your classroom. Curriculum review, put innovation incubation as part of the training. Some universities have service courses. Kindly introduce entrepreneurship and innovation in your service course. Integration of grants. You have R&D grants, governments, donors. Kindly innovation, incubation, and product development grants should be part. Promoting policy. Promotion policies. Again, if you want in the universities to be innovation incubation as one of the attractive way or pathway of career, make sure it's considered in your promotion. No academician will do innovation when there is no points to go for professor. Who of the academician doesn't want to be a professor? Some will never be. If you're doing innovation incubation, so such stuff, it doesn't count. So integrating of this is important. Another one, why a master and PhD is because you have a thesis on the paper on some publication. Why not if you have set up a center, you are also a PhD. If you have set up products and you have it in the market, it's a PhD. You just need to document the process. It's a PhD, and it's even productive because you have products, you have sales, you have employment, everything together. Universities need also to help the incubator to be functional in terms of finance. Why? Accounting procedure, procurement procedure of public universities are not business-like. And therefore, an incubator cannot run like a business. They need special operation accounts. Also a challenge in Uganda, the Auditor General has refused Bara University or my incubator to get an operation account. Where can you earn and spend directly, commercial level? But Bara University now, this year, has got the must holding company. So we are now trying to align and find out how we can work on having that business-like company called Must Holding to do that kind of financial management. And then establish a directorate or DVC for innovation and entrepreneurship. Usually universities have two DVCs, DVC AA, academic affairs, DVC finance and administration. Now, innovation on business, DVC or directorate is important. Yes, so my time is up. Thank you very much, Inter-University Council of East Africa, for hosting the ACE2, of which we, as Farm Biotrack, are a beneficiary. We got 2 grants, the ACE and $250,000 for the incubator. And thank you very much for the coordination. Coordinators are very important to bring this in. Stand up for recognition, Jude. Very important to have coordination. Of course, we as ACE2, we cannot have too much now for it, but I can see it runs very well from the background. And thank you very much all for inviting me to be able to share with you. And I'm willing to have meetings one-to-one or discussion right now on how we can work together. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Anke. You know, Anke is a very passionate person. The first time I saw her, I think it's around 2010. I was a master's student then. And I was wondering, this person who talks with too much passion, she was, again, then I was reminded that she's an engineer. She knows how to drive a tractor. That even aroused my curiosity the more. Thank you very much for raising very key issues in the incubation. Definitely, it's something that is very vital. I can attest to it, that definitely some of the key issues you have raised, one is we need to reform our academic programs because that is something that is very vital. Most in our universities, academic programs are the entry for doing everything that we do. So they control, they have the gate pass for either enabling us to do it or not to do it. Secondly, is we need to create support ecosystems for incubation, for finance, policy, promotion, all those things. Because in a university, there is a carrot and stick. You need the carrots, you also need the stick for whipping people. Academicians, we tend to be very difficult. You will be reminded that, by the way, I am Professor so-and-so. I have been doing this thing for the last 35 years. Who are you now to try to tell me that I need to begin introducing business in my ecology class? What does business have to do with animals and plants? About 178 young people that created their businesses. Those are now have created 52,000 jobs. And that is way more and meaningful in the process because they went through the entrepreneurship incubation process. So it's good business to focus on those processes. Allow me to welcome Mr. Pascal to make his interventions. Mr. Pascal, kindly help keep it to 7 minutes so that we can be able to also get hold of time. Thank you very much.
By the way, money time possible I sit here and share. Because,
Yeah, that is okay.
I'm going to share the experience, and I thought maybe talking without sliding would be much better. So thank you. Unless my mic is not working, okay, it is working. So thank you. I'm Pascal, as it was mentioned by the moderator. I represent, I'm from the University of Rwanda, but I'm representing the hubs. I'm saying the hub in plural because I don't represent only one, which is GREET, hosted by the Center of Excellence in Renewable. I want to inform the members in the room through the Executive Secretary General of the ICA. GREET ready to a very big maker space. We have a big maker space itself, a facility that helps the innovators to build something, but also test within the lab and roll it out for market. Why this is important, maybe to share to start with. When I was looking, wherever I go in the hotel, in any establishment in Africa, when you look the writing up there, very good windows and doors, furnitures and fittings. How many do we have made in from Mozambique? If you look around here, none. If I'm correct, please correct me if I made a mistake. When you go to the shower rooms, if you look around, everything comes from either China, which is much cheaper for Africa, or elsewhere like Turkey, Yemen, and the other countries, including those that are very advanced in industry. So for us, when we are looking at the innovation as a space, we are thinking, how do we nurture, based on our resources, internal capabilities, to feed this gap, which is very important from where I sit. So the university plays a very big role through knowledge transfer and commercialization, which I think has been funded by the ICA funded by World Bank through ICA, and we started an incubator program, which I was to make sure that is registered within the University of Rwanda, but also to make sure it's full operational, and every year graduates minimum 5 startups. But now we have moved between 7 to 12. Last year we graduated 12. And since we started, I remember immediately after COVID, so far I have startups. I'm not talking of incubators now. Startups are businesses. These are the existing within the SME network. So we have a number of them. Maybe I will just come to them as I work within the 7 minutes. The others have gone beyond. So far we are members. Since I started, I wanted to be visible and connected to the rest of the ecosystem in East Africa and the rest of the Africa. We are members of the regional ecosystem to start with AfriLab. It's an African tech hub within Africa. Member state, I think there are 52, coming from 52. And we're even meeting in Nairobi this year by October. Again, we are members. I'm saying we are members. This is the hubs I'm reading. We are members of the East African Innovation Ecosystem, which is recently launched in Nairobi. And we are creating a kind of a network that when we raise funding, we don't along the experiences I'm trying to share, we have the model. When we talk of a translation of research, which is a puzzle in my case, maybe shared with other universities I know. For example, when you were talking of the big four in Africa, we are referring to the most successful Africa, South African universities. South Africa is the most leading in this space. Second is Nigeria, fourth is Kenya, and fifth is Egypt. Fourth is Egypt. And when you look at this ranking, Rwanda is number 5th now, since last year. So why maybe we are coming to the ranking of good ranking, I'm talking of them number 5. It is these spaces that are doing good job. We are graduating spin-off. But the challenge here is the survival period of the startups we graduate every year. A survival, it is the performance of the startups. When we graduate them out there, they have no clue. Some of them lack the market intelligence. They don't understand the market dynamics. But beyond that, Tax Act is not friendly. Beyond that, internet connectivity, they need to come back to us. Beyond that, interest rate from the commercial banks, very expensive. And this makes the startup survival very low. And we are currently bridging the gap between ourselves from the university and industry. But there is a lack of trust. Venture capital in Africa is not vibrant. The rich people doesn't trust us, the incubators, the innovation. So there is a mismatch in terms of what we do, what we want, and what they do outside there. For example, in my case, I have 18 months to roll out the product. The industry can do this job between 3 to 6 months. It is done. They're out. To make sure that we work together because they have money, we have talent. And when you look at the gap between the industry and academia, is actually between this talent and profit making. So if we are not able to align the two, things will never match. So as I said, makerspace was very important, and this is where I want to make an emphasis. When you talk of an incubator without a makerspace, last time I was in Tokyo, traveled to Australia, Sydney and Melbourne, I was at MIT. Things are not done differently. It is the same. Only what we don't have is the maker facility. When you look at others, they are at nanotechnology development, fabricating something that fits within their purpose. When you look at our side here in Africa, the Globe South, we are at micro fabrication. Sometimes it's not even finishing. It is just, something out of passion. And you do it, not for market, no money. And the grants we have end up closing, projects are not sustainable. So I'm saying we need to have the 3D technologies within our space. We need to have CNC fold making to avoid importing these chairs from Turkey, from China. We feed our own market. We don't sell the raw materials. We sell the finished products. And we put money in our coffers. We export. That is actually the contribution of the innovation, creativity. So we should not predict the future using models. We should also add innovations. Predictions is there. Africans are very good in modeling and saying in 50 years we are there. Let's create it. Let's create our future. And I want to finalize with the challenges, though I have tried to underline them as I speak. We have to work on moving from micro to nanotechnology. Let's fabricate our sensors. Let's print our PCB, not importing from, everything imported. Let's try. Like now, when you look at the battlefield, though fighting is bad, but sometimes it's good when you defend yourself. You have seen drones, how they are changing battlefield. It is small thing that you can do within the lab and defend our borders. Like you have seen the experiences from elsewhere. We can do it. We can do it, but if we have, one, the mindset change, which is a challenge. Our professors, when you look at them, they have knowledge, they have skills, capabilities, but their mindset is behind where we are now. They should change. We should not look at publication in scientific journals, becoming a full professor, but where you come from, actually the education of poverty is more than you can imagine. Your mother and father, your children, where you were born, your relatives, a village that is ranked most poor. It has been breeding professors and professors because they don't have this aspect of venture creation through spin-off, research translation. So we need an IP policy that speaks to these issues I'm raising here. When you look at the National Patent Office in Africa, does it exist in any country? If you cannot patent, how do you own? So we need an internet that is affordable. We need tax that is friendly to startups. We don't waive tax for billionaires, and we forget these young ones who are growing to become billionaires of tomorrow, and create kind of easy access, like Timbuktu Foundation. Timbuktu Foundation idea behind was to create a fund for a startup in Africa. But how many who are investing in this Timbuktu Foundation? None, very few. It will almost close if you don't wake up and put money there. I'm speaking to the World Bank, support Timbuktu. It is UNDP now talking and enjoying the music alone. Please reach out to them and support them. And then we need to pivot our curriculum. Let me end here. Thank you so much.
Pascal, thank you very much for raising these very key issues with the passion that it deserves. Sometimes we do things and we end up, we are doing the micro things. And we celebrate very small things. In the village when you're growing up those days, there were times high jump, we used to do the manual one. These days when you watch high jump in Olympics, people come with all different types of styles. But if you set the bar so low and you can just come and walk and jump over it while you are walking, yes, you'd have jumped and you celebrate. But have you made the difference? And I think that's why the Olympics guys stretch to the limits in order to break those world records. And so my summary, about 6 key issues, all rotating around the makerspaces, but one, really nurturing for import substitution. When you look at, you raise the issue of, if you, in this room, how much of it is from Mozambique? Even from the coffee we took, it was a product from elsewhere, actually from Portugal. Portugal doesn't produce coffee, but it's a product of what? Portugal. Two, belonging to an ecosystem for reinforcement, but also for collective strength is very critical. And so if you are running an incubator and you are part of the incubators and you're not in an ecosystem, you might be running your own race and celebrating, but you are not benchmarking. And you are very vulnerable. You note that in wildlife ecology, lions don't hunt a pack of buffaloes. They isolate the weak one and attack that one. So learn to be in a pack of buffaloes so that you can push together. Three, the issue of survival of enterprises or startups is something very critical. It's in short supply in our ecosystem because of the several ecosystem challenges: market dynamics, operations issues, taxation, venture capital limitations. Actually, one of the things in some of our economies is that you ought to be a very good thief for your business to survive. To 40% interest rate. How do you, when your business profit margins are between 8 to 12% per annum, where do you get the money to pay that loan that you'd have taken at 23%, at 30%, and at 40%? So we need to reconfigure with deliberate effort if we are actually interested in growing and ensuring our startups survive. The fourth issue you raise is the issue of matchmaking in order to close the gap between industry and academia. The difference is where talent and money meet. And like I said earlier on, as academicians, we need to normalize the conversation about money. Let's not fear. It is good. You will not be complaining to the vice chancellor and look at him that these guys they are the only ones who drive big cars. No, but once money begins to flow because of R&D in your system, you don't begin hating the vice chancellor. You just look at him and say, hi, prof. In fact, you will not want to become a vice chancellor. So you will not stress anyone. 5, the need to create the future by being deliberate and doing it now. So we need to be very deliberate about our future. And then we need to deal with enabler blockers, IP policy, taxation regimes, and creating an innovation fund within our systems. I hope some of these issues will begin to be taken seriously. It's been part of my wild dream that as Africans, we need to have an African Innovation Bank where we are issuing loans to innovators at 1%. We're having conversations with the European Union and they have 0.3% interest rate for innovators. So how do you begin to compete with people who can get 100,000 at less than 1%? So it is time for us to have serious conversations as Africans and put money where we need for it to be. If you want to know that governments can have money, you'd try to start a demonstration right now from here walking out. There will be money, but there will be no money for what? For innovation. So let's normalize these conversations. This is what I picked from your reflections. I would like to change the conversation and take it to Dr. Neva. Please come and share your experiences with us because you are part of the business. You are the one who holds money and your smiles look money. You're welcome.
Could have sit on that side.
Yes, good morning. My name is Neva Mwambela. I'm a CEO and founder of Plantable Defenders, a startup based in Tanzania, and we are dealing on agricultural inputs, the biopesticide and biofertilizer, and other natural products. I'm also incubatee of CREATE, that is a Center of Excellence at Nelson Mandela, Tanzania. And also, I'm a beneficiary of Rufolam Scholarship during my PhD. So today, I'm here to share with you my experience as a researcher, as innovator, and also as an entrepreneur who came from academia, then into society and industry. So starting with the background, why innovation? Why coming to business? There is a problem existing. So with the change, with the climate change issue, there are a number of problems, including pests and diseases that has affected food production. So because there are a lot of number of challenges, let me focus on agriculture and livestock keeping. So the main problem is food production. And the challenge are the pest invasion. In Tanzania, more than 60% of people are employed in agriculture. That's why my research and innovation focused on agriculture. So you can see up to 40% of crop loss is due to pest damage, and this is due to FAO. And about 220 billion is globally spent on pest control. However, all this expenditure are on synthetic pesticide, which has shown resistance and also impact to human and environment. Some of our various challenging pests to control are fallen armyworm on maize, tooth absolute on tomato, phosphodilling moth on avocado, and coffee berry borer. And these crops are produced in many African countries. So it's not a problem of Tanzania only, but most part of Africa. Another problem is animal vectors. We have also several challenges on animal vectors, but the main serious challenge is tick. The tick is a serious pest of concern because transmit diseases to wildlife, to livestock, and human. So one of my innovation is focusing on controlling ticks by using the eco-friendly technology. So one of the most challenging tick is Leptosphaerus appendiculata that affect livestock, affect wildlife, and also transmit diseases to human. And one of the serious disease in livestock is East Coast fever. This is very serious pest or disease. And in Tanzania, in Ngorongoro Conservation Area, where there is interaction between wildlife and human, the problem is much serious because the wildlife, the livestock keeper, the national park, and people interact together within the same area, so facilitating the transmission of diseases. And the problem is becoming more difficult to control due to this interaction. So as I said, management of pests, whether in agriculture or vectors in livestock, is mainly through use of synthetic pesticide. But these synthetic pesticides have many side effects. They are unaffordable by most smallholder farmers. They are less effective because they become resistant over time. Increased production cost to farmers, requires technology and expertise. It requires protective gears and expertise in managing the pesticide. They are also affecting untargeted organisms, including bees, and also impacting human health. So according to FAO, there is a real and urgent need for new, effective, and affordable biopesticide for controlling the pest in agriculture and livestock. And one of them, the affordable or the promising one, came from research from my PhD. So I was supported by Incubation Center in Tanzania, DDI, through CREATE. And this supported my PhD and supported to scale my innovation and commercialize it. So they financed me and also linkage, network, technical support, and also supported the market of my products. So here is one of the solutions that is available in the market. This is Vuruga biocide. This is a fungal-based biopesticide that cannot form resistance. It is a local isolate that is from a local environment and was my innovation or invention during my PhD. So I have already commercialized the product. It is working on maize, tomato, avocado, and other agricultural pests. So the competitive advantage of this product over other available product is that it has long shelf life, affordable, trusted, safe, and integrative with other natural enemies. Another solution is vector biocide. This is for controlling ticks, as I have highlighted that the ticks are the main problem in Tanzania and most African countries. So we have also a fungal-based isolate that has already been commercialized in Tanzania for controlling ticks and other vector. It is also affordable and very effective and it can be used even in natural settings like a protected area in wildlife because it is safe. It is natural fungus from the environment. As a startup, so far, we have impacted the community. We have registered 6 products, registered 5 national patents, and 1 African regional patent. We have reached more than 14,000 smallholder farmers. We have over 20 partners and created 12 permanent jobs. In my company, we have employed 12 youth and also 10 part-time jobs and also 13 direct jobs, trained more than 7,000 smallholder farmers and empowered more youth and women because most of these people are depending on agriculture for their income and livelihood. So we have also impacted by protecting more acres of crops and also in Tanzania, cotton, coffee, and maize are the main food crops and commercial crops. So we have protected more acre and protected environment and also increased the market, including local and export market. So as I said, I'm an academician and also an entrepreneur. From academia, as a researcher, I have patented 60 products, so I have 60 patents, 5 being national products, and 1 is African regional patents, and I have filed 2 more regional patents this year. You can see here some my products that I have already packed and I have been commercialized them. You can see in Africa, we have also, we are rich also in medicinal plant. You can see these 2 boxes are the medicinal plants that are products that are using for treatment of several diseases. So apart from agriculture, we are also dealing with natural or herbal plants to treat various infectious diseases. All these products have been researched and patented to ensure that people are getting good products. The challenges, as others has highlighted, limited funding opportunities to market or to produce new products is a challenge. No trust, as people, my colleagues have said here, the trust is not there. So also registration and efficacy trial in Tanzania and all over Africa, there is no harmonized guideline for fostering this registration of local products. Also, IP cost for patents. Many academicians would like to patent and have this product, but they require more expertise and also they are expensive. So also information on these registered products are not also available in the authority. Also, platform for accessing registered product in Tanzania and all of Africa, I think it is not clear. That's why you might find that the solution in Tanzania or somewhere else, but the other country facing the same problem does not have that information. So despite these challenges, as a startup, I have won several awards. Last year, I won the first prize award in Rwanda as best innovation or startup that is dealing with environmental protection and food protection. In agroecological food prize, I was the winner in East African region. And this year in Tanzania, I have won 2 national awards. One being the best patent field in Tanzania, and the second is the best female in Tanzania with the leading patents in the country. So this at least is encouraging as a scientist and other scientists and academia that if we work on innovation, at least we are being recognized and the money will come later. Here are some partners. My call for action for all of you today is that you better join us in investing, whether in research or sharing what we are doing or financing, so that you can save your own health, also for sustainable food system, health of soil, and also protect biodiversity, because we need a real sustainable solution for food security and also for economic growth. And this will come from microbial-based or nature-based solution. Thank you, organizers. Thanks to everyone for listening to my presentation. My slogan is that we save human and planet's biodiversity with the right innovation. Here are some innovations that we have already shown, and we are encouraging more from other African youth. Thank you once again.
Ladies and gentlemen, you see, I would like to congratulate Dr. Neva. First, I think, let's give her a round of applause again. You see, earlier on, when I was making opening remarks from the Roof Forum side of things, I said that it is good business to invest in young people. Now, I was just trying to do quick calculations based on what Neva had just indicated in her presentation, because Neva's interventions in 300,000 hectares of maize, in 160,000 hectares of cotton, do you know that, Dr. Neva, you have contributed to the economy of Tanzania? Roughly, I was trying to calculate an equivalent to $928 million. That's what you have just done to Tanzania. When you plug in those values and translate it to wealth and value creation in the economy, that's what you have just done in few months or few years ahead after your PhD. So congratulations, because this is what it means that we need to invest in solutions. We invest in young people, create the innovations, translate them to products and services, then our economies can be able to grow. And so when now you look at the value, I don't know how much, Dr. Nyararo is the one who runs the program that trains the PhDs in Roof Forum. She will be able to tell how much they invested in you. At least on average, we do about, so it has been good investment. So the other issues that you raise from your presentation that I would just like to highlight is the need for us to pay attention to One Health because of the pervasive nature of human-wildlife interactions. Because what you have done is try to address this pervasive nature of problems through biopesticide, availing biopesticides. And I think yours are way cheaper than the synthetic ones. The second issue you raise is around the over-reliance on synthetic pesticides, which have counteracting effects on nature. And so finding alternatives that are sustainable, finding alternatives that are healthy, finding alternatives that are less harmful is good business. And I congratulate you for moving that direction. The other issue that you have raised, which often we pay less attention, is to celebrate our successes. And I thank all those that have recognized you for the work that you have done and for the work that has happened around what you have achieved and persevered to achieve. Because those simple celebrations, recognizing the realities and the needs, motivate us to walk an extra mile. So vice chancellors that are here in this room today, let us normalize celebrating our people, our young people amidst us in our university. Do you know how it means to receive a handshake or even just a coffee date with the vice chancellor in that office? Because sometimes just even us as academicians, to gain the courage to walk to the office of the vice chancellor is like what we call swallowing an axe in my language. Because those offices are filled with the power. But imagine inviting your undergraduate fellow, your master's fellows, to just greet them and serve them a cup of coffee and to say, I congratulate you for the immense work that you're giving to this institution. You are the future of our country and the future of Africa. Dr. Neva, thank you very much for exemplifying that for the Africa that we want. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to transition just to ask one question to each of these panelists, and then I will give the audience opportunity to ask the questions. The first question goes to Mr. Pascal. Pascal, in this long life of entrepreneurship, you have walked the journey, you have eaten the salt, you have seen it. What is that one mistake that you made that almost made you to give up the journey? Share with us your experience on that one.
The mistake. Can you repeat the question again?
You know, we are used to only saying the good side of things. And in this journey, I'm very sure you have annoyed so many people in the system.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when they look at you, they say, but this guy again has come. He keeps talking about these things. So what is that one, you know, when you're walking, I grew up without shoes until I was in secondary school. That's the first time I tested the shoes. And when I tested them, I came back home when I was holding them. Because now the legs were not used to putting on shoes. I instead fell several times that day because I was putting on shoes. I was used to walking anyhow with my legs. Now I was having a constraint. So my basic question was very simple. What is that one thing that you one day did and it almost made you to think, I think this thing, I should stop?
Right, I understand you correctly now. I remember when I joined the African Center, it was around the end of 2019. I'm actually, I belong to the industry for many years. I'm again in the private sector, in the boards, in the operations. I belong to almost 15 years. But talking from the academic perspective, when I went there, I met with two professors. One of them left, another one is still there. But let me remember one who discouraged me and I wanted to go back to the School of Business. He told me this is a non-academic program. And I was looking at him. Are you the one who appointed me? He refused to give me the office. He refused to give me the chair, even to say, actually, this money is mine. I mean the 250,000 the IUCA funded, yes. I looked at him and I was asking, does this money actually sleeping in your account, personal account? It is in SPI account. He never understood my language, and I left back at School of Business. I remember Professor Nelson Ijumba, who was the Davis Academics, again called me, go back. Because I told him the man doesn't even know what is the use of money. He said, go back. I met with the deputy, and the deputy told me, fine, I have small amount of funding from SIDA, Swedish Development Agency. Can we run the incubation? I said, where is the money? But before we have money, we should have a space for incubatees. We should have a model. We should have staff. He said, we can do it, me and you. Then we started, but I was almost actually going back and leaving the incubation. So this is something I remember, the journey. But very recently, again, somebody told me that you actually need to take your grid outside the university. He was the second. Grid should move. I said, I registered this in the names of the university. Can I change? Because I want it. He was looking at me. You registered in the names of the university they have? I said, yes. So you want to make it private for Pascal? Who are you? Anyway, to cut it short, it is about the mindset. People keep discouraging you, but you have to walk your journey. And I always speak to the Vice Chancellor. The good thing is the current sitting Vice Chancellor understands this process correctly. He is always encouraging me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pascal. I need to check by show of hands. How many Vice Chancellors, Deputy Vice Chancellors, and Directors do we have here in this room? By show of hands, Vice Chancellors, Deputy Vice Chancellors, and Directors. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard one of the biggest threats to these processes in your institutions is power dynamics. Power dynamics. As a Vice Chancellor, you might not know that you even have people who are more powerful in your system than yourself. And they might be the blockers to your success as a Vice Chancellor. So if you're ready to move this journey, you really have to be very convinced and ensure that you have space and time where you are going to find time to listen to the people like Pascal. Because sometimes it requires some unorthodox processes for it to happen.
Actually, since I started, I have raised $3.5 million for the UR, University of Rwanda. And I imagine how much this professor who have left the university has done. Thank you.
You can see that sometimes it takes people with the passion, people with the vision, but there are barriers in our systems, in our universities that we need to what? To unlock. We need to deal with those issues of power dynamics. That means, Pascal, congratulations for being a passionate politician. Because I know how sometimes universities are. You can be stopped by a secretary for 5 months and nothing moves. And then there is sometimes the pervasive thing that in the university system that is called the wind. You did not put a stone, the wind took your papers. The Africans know. Let me go to the next question. Okay, you have been in this journey, walking sometimes as a loner, and sometimes in Uganda, people give you a different name. But in this journey, I would like to ask you, what is that one honest failure you have encountered in the journey that has made you to sleep while sitting at night?
Yes. Direct failure, very simple. I don't have a PhD, but I created a system of having 30 PhD. Some are directors, one is a professor, one is almost a minister. And myself, I still don't have a PhD, but I created an ecosystem of manufacturing PhD. So I'm asking sometimes, who is the PhD holder? Someone who gets a scholarship, a research grant, all the time and all the mind to do a PhD, or someone sitting down for 15 years lobbying to integrate traditional medicine into higher education. In the case of Farm Biotech is the end product, but the pathway was Institute of Indigenous Knowledge. My name, I'm called Mufumu, White Witch, yes, Mufumu, Daktari Mitishamba in Swahili, and Sangoma in South Africa. And they call me names, and I kept 15 years lobbying, and still, I never got in the 10 years, after 10 years, I gave up. When from Biotech, I gave up to do a PhD. I tried to get scholarships from Europe. Europe cannot give me scholarship because I was registered as a student in Uganda, in Bara University. And the African scholarship giver, whoever, different foundations, they say, you are not an African. So I'm a European, want to do a PhD in Africa, I can never get a scholarship. That was the research I did for 10 years. So right now I failed to make a PhD, but I create an ecosystem of manufacturing PhD. Now my question is back to you, all of you. Who is the PhD holder? One who has the comfort of getting scholarship, getting paid for doing a PhD, or someone sitting down 15 years lobbying, putting the strategic plan of Mbara University. I'm the one integrating traditional medicine in the strategic plan. Took me 15 years. I also took another 10 years to integrate traditional medicine into the master plan of Chihumuru. Chihumuru is the new campus of Mbara University. That master plan, I was part of the planners, not paid, no scholarship, no salary. I was just a volunteer, and it's there. So who is now the PhD holder? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anke, with always very insightful questions, but also responses to questions. Who is the PhD? There are different levels of those, but what I would like to say, the basic issue that the message that I pick is around, do you have champions in your system? As universities, do you have champions? Do you have people who are willing to walk an extra mile? Do you have people who are committed and dedicated in the process? And if you see them, can you be able to identify them, place them, support them, and walk with them the journey? Because I think the issue of the scholarship would not have been a problem if the system was seen, because definitely that is, for me, something very fairly easy to do if the system recognizes those basic fundamental facts. But the key issue to the leaders of institutions here is really around that, can we have the ability to identify, engage with our champions in our systems, because that will make us walk a long journey. So many innovators, inventors, when I look at the history of patents and so forth emerging from the United States, 99% of them never had a PhD. most of the things, even when we celebrate the Wright brothers as the first persons around the airplanes, no, there was the first Black African American guy who was the first inventor of the plane, whom he shipped it to Europe, and it never made it to Europe, and it has never been discovered up to today. Who stole the plane aboard that ship? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to transition to end my questions to Dr. Neva. Dr. Neva, I'm sure when RUFORUM provided you that scholarship and you went into your PhD, you had no dream of becoming an entrepreneur. But what really inspired you and tickled you in the wee hours of the night in the lab to make that bold decision and commitment to begin the march to entrepreneurship?
Thank you so much. I can say the passions, but second, I can say it was accidentally due to environment that does not support investment in or take up of the innovations from university, then into industry. Yes, my passion was to work on this, the problem that was existing, that in the time I was registering for PhD, there was a problem of tomato leaf miner, two-tab solute on tomato. So as a mother, the scientist, I was interested to work on alternative solutions that would be safe for myself. I'm also a consumer and a lover of tomato. That was one. But I did not intend to commercialize. But at the time I had that innovation, I thought there could be someone or some rich people who could pick my innovation and pay me as inventor to proceed with that. So no one was ready to take my innovation. In Tanzania, there are several people who are rich. There are agro dealers, people who I faced them. I thought they could have taken my innovation. No one was there. Most people were not understanding. Others, they were thinking that I'm joking that. And others told me, you Tanzanian, African, you cannot innovate something. So that raised, maybe I can say I was angry. So I had a chance now to say, I have to do it myself. I had limited resources. I remember I faced one of lawyer to help me to draft a patent. He told me it is 2,000 USD. I had no money and I was about to complete my PhD, no more scholarship. And I need to take that innovation to industry. I need to commercialize. No fund for doing that. Whoever I face is not willing to invest. And someone told me, maybe if I take you as an employee and I will pay you later once we start getting profit. So from there, so I started working aggressively. So I engaged my family member, my husband, and my children were part of this innovation. So we used most of our family money to make sure the product that we commercialize the product. So I cannot say that I had that dream to become an entrepreneur as a scientist. No, I had not that dream. And through this question, calling upon African inventors, investors, government, to support this innovation from university. I know there are many people who are inventing new product, but they lack this support. I'm not sure about other African countries. I'm not sure about Mozambique, but they, from my experience in Tanzania, most startups are struggling to commercialize these innovations. There are a lot of costs. When you talk about a startup, it's something that is new. No one can understand in the market. You are new. You are facing a lot of challenges. Funding, competitors who are giant in the market with the strong brands. So it takes time for you to penetrate the market. So that's why it needs really a patience of what you are doing, and you need to struggle and to be resilient so that you reach what you intended to do.
Dr. Neva, thank you very much for walking that journey, because definitely is not a tough and is a match. Personally, I've failed 5 businesses. So sometimes I look at myself and I say, but where am I going to end? After you have sunk in some money and boom, you make losses and just make a decision that let me close. I need to start afresh and rethink. But you've raised something very fundamental that we need within that environment is the ability for you to take a bold step to turn a challenge at hand into a solution that now it is the time for me to walk this journey alone. It is sometimes called what is you call the Moses' dream. When he just picked the staff and said, now I'm going to face the Pharaoh. That Moses' dream is something very fundamental in entrepreneurship. And so you also, in the same vein, challenge the institutions and indeed the private sector that if we are to grow, we need to invest in our own within the journey and in the continent. It is easy to import and just be distributors of other people's innovations. You import from India, from China, and so forth. But then at the end of the year, the presidents are lamenting how the balance of payments are not matching up and how we are in foreign exchange deficits. This year, I went to one of the countries within SADC, and the fuel crisis was real. And the question was, we have not yet sold our annual crop because there is no foreign exchange in the foreign what? Reserves. So the country cannot afford to buy what? Fuel. And so the citizens suffer. So we therefore need to rethink, even as investors that are within the country, that I think local solutions for local import substitution becomes fundamental. So imagine your contribution of $920 million that you've put into Tanzania's economy. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give the audience the time, an opportunity. By show of hands, can somebody help me with the microphone that side? Raise only one question, not two, not three, just one question at a time to the audience, and just be specific to the person that you want to answer that question. I see a hand here. I see a hand that side. Let me take a microphone. They have microphones? Okay. So, sir, please go ahead. Just ask your question.
Thank you, Professor Egur. Mine is not a question, but if you can allow me just a minute or two to share notes on how to enhance the innovation ecosystem within our universities and our countries. I'll share a quick example of what we did as Zimbabwe. I think it should start at government level. Once we get buy-in from government level, then it cascades down to our institutions. It's easy to grow and scale up our innovation ecosystem. For example, in our country, it started with our own president, who's for the idea that education must be relevant and we should be able to produce goods and services at the end. So at the end of every academic program must be an industry. So what we did as a ministry was to reconfigure our education system towards what we call heritage-based education 5.0. That looks at our normal teaching, our research, our community engagement. We added innovation and industrialization. So promotion of all academic staff is upon these five pillars. You have to cut across all the 5 pillars for you to be promoted, whether to be a senior lecturer, a professor, etc. Then we also looked at program infrastructure, where we make entrepreneurship a cross-cutting module across the university, whether you're doing humanities, you're doing whichever discipline, because we want to inculcate this entrepreneurial spirit within our students. It has to be a cross-cutting module across the university. Then we also reviewed our University Acts so that they become compliant to this new model that we are advocating for. Then in terms of infrastructure, we've built innovation hubs across all institutions, as well as industrial parks. From the innovation hubs, if you've got a good idea, we get to patent it, then we scale it up in the industrial parks. So universities are now coming up with different entities for various products. Like Doc was mentioning, patenting is very expensive. So if it is done within university confines, I think it will be easy to scale up and push out many products and services to the market. And as we establish companies, we also believe that let the university have a stake within that ecosystem, a certain percentage, then the rest to the innovator, so that it becomes sustainable. Once it gets to the commercial lane or to the commercial markets, it becomes sustainable, then the university will exit at an appropriate time. At government level, we've also come up with a joint venture capital fund to promote innovations within the national innovation ecosystem. So my key takeaway is let governments do intentional investing towards innovation pursuits. And if we want to make our innovation sustainable, my word of advice is let's provide solutions to our local challenges. I was very happy with my Rwandan colleague when you were saying, what is from this country? If we drill down, what it basically means is let our solutions provide, let's come up with solutions that address the socio-economic challenges that our nations are facing. And the more we do that, you would find more products keep on coming and innovation ecosystems get to scale up. And within your innovation incubation centers, have the right infrastructure in terms of human resources, have intellectual property directors, have marketing directors, have business development directors, so that we grow this ecosystem holistically and get to the market, so that in the end, our products and services get to market reality. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think in this room, if you want to look for some of the experiences and best experiences, even how to start, don't run very far. Visit Zimbabwe. It may not be profiled as such, but try to visit Zimbabwe. I went to University of Chinhoyi and I was humbled because they have a meal processing plant as part of the incubation that is able to process 7 tons of maize to create feed in 1 hour. That is high-level industry. But yeah, the government of Zimbabwe is investing with the common call and conversation. It's almost like religion. Everyone talks of education 5.0. There is nowhere where you go and even academicians are talking about that religion called education 5.0. What is it basically? Okay, teaching, research, outreach, innovation, and industry. Those are the 5 pillars. And so you need to be able to put that. They added the innovation and industry as the other 2 pillars that are able to be deliberate and real deliberate effort. Thank you very much for the government of Zimbabwe for investing in your people, because it is realistic. Yes, there is a hand this side. Yes, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentations. And my question goes to Dr. Neva. Thank you so much for the motivational talk that you've given. I have one question. If we were to design a support package to get more of Dr. Neva's in the system, what would it need to have so that we can be able to get more of your type? Thank you.
Let's get the next question, sir. Yes, please.
Thank you. My question maybe looking at maybe each one of you can take it, but my question is, I think I'm looking at we've got in that group, we've got incubation, we've got invent, and then we've got the business from Pascal. So my question is, I'm looking at the Center of Excellence. I think area on the moderator mentioned about the issue of sustainability after the funding. So I'm looking at how can those 3 come together under these centers in the in the issue of sustainability, relating again to the question, because we need to replicate the Dr. Nevers, but then there's an issue of since people should be incubated so that we replicate the Dr. Nevers, but then there's this issue of funding that she complained. So I'm looking at how best can we come up, because that would be very important for the issue of sustainability. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone more hand? Yes, Prof. Gaspard.
I'm a teacher. I can speak without a mic. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate our panelists for the nice, successful story that they presented. You raised, almost all of you raised the issue of money. And one of you raised the issue of trust, saying that the rich people are not actually interested into the academic approaches. Do you have any idea on how can we improve the trust between the industry players and academia? Because that's where, you know, money, even if we can refuse to talk about it, it will still be the basis to move. Do we have any idea that can be shared as being one of those who navigated through those processes on how can we improve that trust and then reach out that money that the rich people have that we don't have in academia? Thank you.
So thank you very much. Let me allow Dr. Neva to start. There was a question specifically to you, and then we will move to the next set of questions that have been asked.
I'm not sure if I got well the question. She asked if I were to design a package, which one should I?
If the system, say the university system was to design a package, a support package, what would that kind of package be that can enable to create the more like you?
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So if the universities to redesign the package, what I would say or suggest from my experience is that to focus on innovation and commercialization of product before these graduates go to the society. Because within the university, that's where the trust is, where the funding opportunities are, rather than as an individual who graduate from the university. So for instance, in Tanzania, we have IP policy in each university. But I have seen they are not yet materialized in the university because they came from the university. You find that at the time someone is graduating, although there is IP policy, you graduate maybe with your patent, but it is not clear what support exactly are you supposed to get so that they commercialize your product or your innovation. So the package I will suggest that from the university, if they have a funding opportunity or they have enough fund, it's better when someone before leaving or graduating to have register a patent, also register product, because registering a product is another issue, registering a patent is another issue. So before going to the markets, better the university or the academia brand this product and brand this startup. So the startup should start from the university so that when someone graduates, already has network, already has a starting funding, a starting capital, even if it is small, at least you have somewhere to start. You find most of these young innovators are ending up with their patent. I have some reference even from Tanzania. People have patented their product. They have not commercialized because of what we have called the trust and funding. So it's better the university facilitate this process and fund. Another issue is, I can say maybe sometime jealous and conflict of interest. I'm also working as academia. I'm also working at the university as well. You find sometimes people with their own interests who are at managerial process, you find that stage, they cannot support this young entrepreneur because of their own interests or sometimes conflict. Maybe there are funds. I have experienced this even when I was studying. You find there are funds within the university, but people cannot support you maybe because of interest. Someone is not interested on what you are working on, even if he finds that this is very viable product and is ready for commercialization. So I think also changing the mindset, because funding is one, this support is the second, but the mindset of those leaders and people who are working with these innovators. Sometimes you can find that the jealousy starts from your supervisor. If your supervisor is not willing to support, you will stuck there. Even if there are funds, you will not get that one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Neva. I think there are a lot of people issues. And that is part of to the vice chancellors and colleagues in the leadership. We need to deal with developing leaders for transformation, because that's a real issue at hand. So, Mr. Pascal, over to you, and then you hand over to Anke, and we will close.
Yes, sir. I'm responding to the ICA Secretary General question. There are issues that leads to mistrust. And these issues normally, they do lingering around turnaround time, but also interest. Why I start with turnaround time? When you look at the process which originates from the systems of bureaucracy within the universities, are actually something that creates that level of trust, which is not good always. I would give an example to understand maybe my position. I have been in academia, but I also in the industry. I was also in the industry at the level of, I'm in the banking sector, but they always criticize what is happening in the industry. I will give an example of a student from Uganda who was doing Masters of Data Science at the African Center of Data Science at CBE. This student came to me in my office and she wanted to roll out a product, but she was a little bit confused. And this product was focusing on corporate loan analysis using a software. She had a very nice proof of concept from a professor. And I told her, the best way you can do is to have an internship in the digital department within a bank. And she requested me to look for where to do the internship. So I recommended her for Bank of Kigali, the biggest bank in Rwanda. And she said, I know nobody. I told her, I recommended you go there, talk to somebody. She went there and she was given an internship the whole year. So it is called professional. The intention was not to run the banking, but also become the banker. No. The process was to go into digital, develop a digital product that answers the corporate issues related to loan. Because corporate loans, when they are, actually when you are dealing with these big loans, that takes almost 70% of the loan portfolio within the bank. You need to have a precision in terms of analysis. So I told her, if you can help people moving from either the way they're used to, which is not maybe answering, and I knew that challenge was there. She went there. After 1 year, she left without even coming back to me. So when I met with the digital, somebody in charge of digital told me, you already actually gave us a very good software for corporate loan analysis. I said, congratulations. Then I called the woman who was back in Uganda. She never wanted to pick my call. I kept quiet. That evening, the digital called me that she called her and she wanted to know why I'm following up. I said, no, she should feel relaxed. You tell her to talk to me. So when she called me back, I told her, are you in Rwanda or in Uganda? I discovered she was still around in Kigali, comes and goes back. But imagine, a software that makes the bank to make a profit of billions. You sell it to a 15,000 Rwandan francs. That's around 10,000 US dollars. And behind this young lady, a data scientist, there is a professor. And that's where I alluded to when I was discussing about the gap between the university and the industry is between, when you look at this issue of talent, we are aiming at producing talents. They're aiming at making money. But how they are exploiting our resource capabilities because we don't have a framework. How do you send a student through knowledge transfer office, career office, until somebody gets up there to the industry, does the job, and leaves with nothing comes back to the university, nothing comes back to the student, even they are not good at negotiating. Money doesn't come easily, you have to negotiate. I was looking at the most countries that really are very good in negotiations. Britons are the best across the globe. When they negotiate, it is not straightway. It is, until they get where they want. It is within their DNA. I don't know, how do we come up with this DNA? The way DNA is created is another thing. Through, is it the man and the woman? I don't know the process. How do we create that DNA within our students of negotiating deals? So the trust, therefore, is something that comes from on how do we share. But your process actually takes longer. You have bureaucracy. Therefore, we should create systems that enables these things to happen. But we should create systems beyond of releasing things for free. We are after money, but how do we get money? We are not there. We don't even have a clue. We don't have policy, we don't have process, we don't have people who are really in charge. And again, the last one is funding. Funding is a puzzle, mostly this period of budget cut, from the big fish to small. The big fish, I'm not going to name the names. The big fish, they have their big war fighting. But the one who suffers are we. Because we are not ready. The readiness was not prepared initially to get at this point. So what I want to say, if you have 250,000 and within the funding period it is closed, everything comes to the end. You are not prepared to run. Actually, it's from the appointment, even when we decide somebody to run the business. Let's look at the profile. Who is going to run the business? Does this person fit for the purpose? For example, the SCs, in my case, they are closing. In my country, they are closing. I remember they are applying to get more funding for master's students and PhD, but they are almost closing. Imagine, how do you spend $5 million in 5 years? You close. You run programs that are very competitive. None of them that, people will come and pay. They are not ready. We are very poor in marketing our programs. How they are very competitive, unique. To sell themselves outside there, people can pay millions of money. Graduate, but we have created a system where everything will come from the World Bank. Who told the World Bank will be there at your own homes and feeding everyone? You are given a capital of $5 million, not even a single space. Like for us, we are living in the heart of the city. 1 square meter is rented $150. Noresken is a case in Kigali. It is a Swedish company which sells space. They have no incubator program, they have nothing. It is only space. You pay $1,000 for a month. Noresken continues to exist. Centers of excellence. I have never seen any director creating a space near Serena Hotel, at least for co-working. Even a PhD wants a free internet, comes for free. How comes for free? I have paid you, then come enjoy free service when you have money. Is this sustainability? Therefore, it comes from the leadership. It comes from the systems and framework on how to run these programs become sustainable on their own after funding of $5 million. A lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pascal. You have raised a lot of issues in there, but let me allow Anke to wind up so that we close. We've gone on the red in terms of our time.
Thank you very much. Let me start with where you ended. Yes, you get $5 million, but you not had the liberty to do it as a business-like investment. There was a lot of regulatory, a lot of problems. You can't, this 12 million, yes, we got it, we implemented, but it was not a business-like investment received, because then the function of the centers would be totally different. So we couldn't do business-like because of the framework in which we got the money. You too, I mean, we are all in the same boat. Now, what I was saying about sustainability at policy level, let's go first up there to the policy. We need innovation funds, not only research funds. We need innovation funds, yeah? And not always this, they call it competitive grants. You start writing, you never get it. Why? Professor already stated, some innovators are simply not liked. You do everything, but they don't give you funds. You can write the best proposal, never get funds. You need to be picked. There need to be a comment on picking people. Innovators are stubborn. You need to know how to handle them. And some industry in Europe, they know how to handle innovators. We are not easy people. National development plan. I want to see innovation incubation in your national development plans. If it's not there, sorry, that's very difficult. You can policy and the MPs and all this, no. Third, policy, tax rebate. If your tax system, an investor from outside gets tax holiday, gets free land, you invest here, you get money, you get land, you get everything. But the small ones, they don't get. What about philanthropic culture? It starts with the tax rebate. An investor, he is a businessman. When you invest in philanthropy, can you get a tax rebate? Not in Uganda. I don't know in Rwanda, but Uganda doesn't have it. Europe, Germany, my country of origin, and America has it. We don't have it here. Also allocation. I know governments sponsor students to get scholarships in China, in US, everywhere. You got scholarships for students. Give scholarship to innovators, university level, dear vice chancellors and leaders, alumina relation. The big universities have a high alumni relationship. Some of these alumni you have, they are now billionaires. Can we try to invite him to get, maybe you invite them for different programs and attract them. Some will say, I built a building and put my name on it. That is investment. Budgeting and planning, universities, leaders. You have to put innovation incubation in your university plan, in your university budget. If there's no budget, there's no action, because all action needs funding. Leadership. Who is in charge at the universities on innovation incubation? It's a small corner office somewhere, not even having power on the internet. But we need DVCs or directorates where you can attract funding and have a home for this kind of support system. And then academic promotions. Promotion policies and IP policies need to be friendly to innovation and innovators. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know I have my own personal bias and therefore I have not been very faithful to the timekeeping. So allow me to ask for your forgiveness for going into the red. In Uganda now, the 2 weeks we have gotten a new system called Express Penalty Scheme. So once you overspeed, you get an immediate tax penalty there and then. So some enterprises are already closing because of overspeeding. I have attempted not to overspeed, but as a result, I have created a problem around time. With these many words and remarks from a team of panelists here, I believe that this session has been fruitful to the benefit of all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank the panelists one as they walk out to take their seats. Thank you very much.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's thank Professor Ejeru and the panelists for this wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. Yes, we are slightly late for lunch, but there are no penalties good enough for Professor Ejeru. We are going to have lunch. As we get out over here, we shall receive the coupons and we shall turn on our left as we get out. The restaurant is called Azur. We want to invite the front seats here, the members of the Regional Steering Committee, the World Bank, National Steering Committee to get out first. And then the panelists and the rest of the team members will follow. Kindly, Executive Director, we ask you to get up and move with the National Steering Committee.